Hello, 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 and welcome back to Blue Tinted Glasses for today's Good Morning Foxes show. This is my Sunday show, if you like, where I try and come at the game with a bit more of a cool head. I'm not sure if that's going to work this week, though, if I'm completely honest. I've been riled up already this morning because I watched Luke's live stream and I heard all the things that he was saying, and he reminded me that I hate Steve Cooper. So, I'm. Nil is here for the cool head, I think. So, obviously, as you can see, I've got Luke and a Nil on screen. Luke from Leicester City Down Under, how you doing, mate?
Thank you, mate. Cheers. Thank you for having me on. Do I have free reign to say what I want about Cooper?
Mate, you can say what you want. You can swear words, whatever you want to say, mate. This is no holds barred, mate. Don't worry.
Awesome. No worries.
What time is it? Luke's obviously, as his channel says, Down Under. He's from Australia. What time is it where you are, mate?
Mate, it is 5:17 in the afternoon here, so I'm in the future here.
Okay. So you've already watched the first half of the Arsenal Man City game, yeah?
Yeah.
If only that's how time zones worked. We could make a lot of money on the betting sites. Nil, how are you doing, fella?
Yeah, I'm all right. This is the morning after the night before, I suppose. Let's see what happens. Frustrating game yesterday, wasn't it?
Yes, mate. 100%. Right, where do we start? Right, let's start with. We've got to start with. Well, before we go into the left side of things, can I just say I don't know if either of you agree. Ndiaye for Everton, I thought he was the best player on the pitch. I thought he was incredible. I think he looks like a real talent. He is the one that was at Sheffield United and then went to Marseille on like one of the last days of the transfer window and dropped them in the shit. And then now he's come to Everton. Anything you want to say about him, Emil? Because I thought he was absolutely class, mate.
Yeah, it was very good. I think he flagged as the game went on, but I'm not really surprised. They weren't really giving him much of an outlet. He definitely seems like one of those players that, if he was in a better team, would probably perform even better. But that was a great goal. The more that you look at it, I mean, whilst I think JJ could do better, he basically for the second and third bits beats like 3-4 players around him, gets a shot away and puts it right in the corner. Maybe Mads could do a bit better, but yeah, that's got to be a real reign of light for Everton, see if they can stay up. Hopefully they don't. But yeah, definitely very good. But unfortunately, we're going to get someone like that. I think, though, I think Luke even said this to me in the previous thing that we just did, saying that it is interesting that the winger on that side has probably been the best player for the opposition in 3 of the 5 games, which maybe suggests that are they good or are we making him look good? But to be fair to Locks, I agree. I was very impressed with him. I think he looked very good.
Yeah, 100%. Morning to you, Danny, mate. Danny is a Leeds fan, but he is a mod in the chat. He's a very supportive guy, so thanks for being here, Danny. LCFC fan is here. Sup. Kian, we'll talk about your comment with that substitution. Don't worry, that is definitely a talking point. As Danny says, smash a like and subscribe, please. And also, anybody else who's watching, please get your comments in about the game yesterday. Luke, anything you want to say, mate, about Ndiaye? I mean, again, do you just echo what we say? I mean, quite an impressive performance.
Pretty much, mate. Brilliant player. One of those goals where he took so many people on, including Winks, that you kind of can't help but admire it a little bit. Like, if you were a neutral and you're watching that, you're going to think, that's class and fair play to him. It's just unfortunate it was against us.
Yeah, 100%, mate. We touched on it there, and I think you touched on it, but the right side. So I read a stat yesterday, or I heard a stat on Radio Leicester. It might be wrong, so please someone do some research and tell me. But allegedly, 5 of the 8 goals conceded this season have come down the right. And still, Ricardo Pereira doesn't get anywhere near the team. Now, I've said from game week 1, I understand in my head what Cooper is doing with regards to he wants Christensen to be the more kind of traditional attacking left back, with Justin maybe just offering a bit more balance on the right-hand side, having to come into defense, come inside if he needs to. Maybe that suits him more than Ricardo. But again, I keep going back, mate, to the comment that Cooper made after the Fulham game, where he said Ricardo needs to work to get back in the team. And yet, I'll say it again. Didn't he do 46 games of that last season? Did he not work 46 games last season to get in the team this year? What's going on, Anil?
I'd like to get your guys' take on that as well, to be honest with you. It's crazy. What maybe could have happened is that he tried him in that role, and maybe on the transition, he felt like he wasn't getting back as much as JJ was. And maybe that's because like under Enzo, we played more of that style where we held the ball for much longer. So it was more about the ball retention rather than it being a bit chaotic back and forth. But at the end of the day, I mean, you're right. And the thing is that like, regardless of what your feelings are for a player, you'd be saying about any player, if there's mistakes happening down one side or a centre half or whatever, and you've got players in the squad that can rotate, you'd be asking for the rotation option. Like if Jamie Vardy didn't score for 10 games, you'd be like, well, maybe we should start Edouard, right? Or do you remember last season, for example, we started with Kelechi and Vardy was more coming on as the impact player. And then as time went on, we rotated it. So yeah, I think it's kind of mad. And yeah, I just feel that like that's one of those decisions that like not starting Ricardo is a sort of thing that ends up getting you the sack, and then you can have no one to blame but yourself. I've just seen as someone from Forest put something there. That'd be interesting to get their comment because we don't know this.
Yeah. So Luke, Forest Fan TV, Wolfie, he doesn't like it when I say this. He is a shit stirrer, but what I will say in his defense is that he told me, I spoke to Wolfie when Cooper was announced or at the start of the season, and he gave me a list of things about Steve Cooper, and every single one of them has come true. And I'm not joking, every single one, right? So this time, Luke, he says Cooper purposely freezes out a few players. He did that at Forest to most of our loan players, Dennis Scarp and Lewis O'Brien. Now, obviously, it's not the same with our loan players. We've only got Buenanotte. Is that it? Just Buenanotte on loan and Edouard. But what I will say, though, mate, is there was a rumor that came out in an article last week saying that maybe one or two players weren't buying into Steve Cooper and the way he does things around the club. My question is, do you think that might be Ricardo? Because we know, and I know it sounds so silly and cynical, but Ricardo was the only player to come out when Enzo was sacked, when Enzo quit, and say that, oh, thanks for everything, Gaffer. I think Mavididi did as well, but it was Ricardo. Well, there we go, Mavididi, and he couldn't get a start until the Palace game. So do you think that might be the issue, Luke? Do you think maybe that there's a couple of players who were a bit disappointed with Cooper's appointment and maybe they're the ones he's kind of leaving out?
Right, I'm about to rant here. Okay.
Go.
Okay, so for me, it's absolutely criminal. So look, if you think of Ricardo and their options with Victor playing criminal, right? But put it this way, last season under Enzo Maresca, he was probably our most intelligent and most important player. He was able to play a high-pressing 8 on both sides. He was able to play in a double pivot in possession, and then out of position, he would drop back in and would be in a 4-3-3 out of possession. So that is not an easy thing to do, particularly we weren't in the Premier League, but still, it's not easy to do in the English football. And Neil was right to point out once that he could see Ricardo Pereira not being a starter for Man City, but he's someone that Pep could trust to come on with 20 minutes to go and be able to fit into a system. That is why everything works so well, as we all know, under Enzo Maresca, because it was to a system. And when it's to a system like that, we're seeing so much in these recent games recently, people getting each other's ways, staying in their lanes. We're seeing JJ and Christensen swapping sides. We're seeing Ayew swapping sides. People, it's all convoluted. It's not working. So when you've got someone as intelligent as Ricardo Pereira in your team not playing, and he's smart and old enough now at this point of his career to be able to see that, and he's not seen eye to eye with Cooper, I can 100% buy into that rumor. Do you remember when Rodgers was committing suicide to our football club and playing Amati as a centre-back instead of Sionsu, when you're all thinking, what are you doing? It's just so plain and obvious. And people say, well, you're an armchair manager. Well, come on, mate. Like, the results are there for himself. We all talk about, we usually have one fullback that advances up the pitch. That game, it was both. It was all over the place. Maybe that was because he was trying to swap it up. Dyche likes to lock the football on one side of the pitch. I can't see it. I just cannot comprehend why we can't go attacking from the get-go instead of chasing a game. Why can we not have Mavididi and Fatawi on both sides of the wing? And why can we not have JJ on the left and Ricardo Pereira on the right? If you're going to have one advancing fullback, he is the best on the ball. In my opinion, he's got a better brain than JJ, so he can still track back. Never have I seen Ricardo being caught out. Steve Cooper out.
Well, there we go. I mean, Luke has hit the nail on the head, 100%. Let us know in the comments if you do agree with what Luke said there. LCFC Fan 15 has called you Luke Expressions. The Leicester City equivalent of Expressions. Forest Fan says he has a love affair with the Ayew family as well. He keeps Andre, who is shit, so I expect Jordan Ayew to play a lot for you guys. Now, let's talk about Ayew. Before we get into the substitution, Anil, not the substitution, but just his overall game. I like Ayew. I like Ayew. You know, when he came into the club, I kind of joked around with you, Anil, and said, oh, defensive forward, you know, here we go and all this. But I think he does bring something different to the team, and I think it is an asset to the squad for sure. So before we talk on the sub, talk to me on Ayew. What have you made to his start at Leicester so far?
I think he's been pretty good. You'd probably give him a 7 out of 10. But I think the issue with Ayew is more what he's going to give you and what he isn't going to give you. So I think he's, you know what, he'd probably be a better player to have against teams like Spurs and Villa, who you know you're going to be on the receiving end of a lot of shtick, and you need someone who's going to fight hard, keep it, that you can trust with the ball, not do something stupid, work hard, tire them out, and then you can bring on some more flair players later. He's ideal for games like that. But yesterday, my issue with his selection was that this was the game that was not his game to play. He should have been a finisher, not a starter. Compare him to Mavididi. Mavididi did lose the ball a few times, but he also rinsed his fullback multiple times and had him on toast. He was making things happen. The thing when Ayew's got the ball is that he's not going to beat a player 1-for-1. He's not going to do 2 lollipops or step overs, beat 2 men, tie them inside and out and get you up the team and make something happen. We know that Everton are a fairly dour defensive side usually, so it would make more sense to have someone either who's a direct threat that could run at them, i.e. Fatawu, or have someone who's more creative, who drifts around and has got a bit more of that sort of like X factor, like Buonanotte, who when he came on did very well. So I think he's a good squad player. I think, to be fair, Ayew is a player that we thought the Cordova-Reid would be, which is a more experienced player that you can trust, is really solid, can start, can play in multiple positions, nothing wrong with him, and useful to have around. And there's definitely horses for courses. It's just that yesterday's course, he wasn't the horse to play. That's the way that I see it. But I think overall, on the 2-year deal, maybe it's a bit pricey, but he actually looks like a good signing. I don't think I would say he's a bad one. I'm just frustrated though. And I think you said to me, or we said it on Foxes then, that we said, you know, in this game, we'll see the real Steve Cooper. And he started Jordan Ayew instead of going for a more attacking option. At least he did start Bilal El Khanous, but if he was really on it, he would have started both him and Buonanotte, I think. Or I just put it out there, he's never started both Fatawu and Mavididi at the same time. And when come on, now surely the time that we go for the sub, but why is Fatawu coming on for Mavididi in the wrong position in the 90th minute? Madness.
Absolutely, mate. Just before we touch on that, so Ethan Riley says Locke's thoughts on Jamie, referring to Jamie from Fox's Arms, still backing Cooper. Mate, it's craziness. He refused to bring my comments up on their stream today as well. That shows, you know when you're backing the wrong horse, when you just can't even entertain other people's views. Right. Luke, we're going to talk about the substitution that involved kind of involved Ayew, but it was the substitution that we saw Fatawu coming onto the pitch, Mavididi being the one to come off. Before I get your view on it, I just want to show one thing. This was my reaction yesterday on the watch along when I actually saw who was coming off. So let me just try and get it up. Where is it? Here we go. I hope you've got volume. Let me know if you do have volume. Here we go. Okay, you can see this, yeah?
Yeah.
Have you got volume here? Did you get a bit of volume there?
No, unfortunately. Smart hat, though.
No volume?
No volume.
Okay. Well, you'll have to see the reaction.
It actually works better without the volume, if you ask me.
No subtitles required.
What? I'm doing the volume. What?
Yeah. By the way, that sub completely killed the momentum. That's what was so frustrating. You'd actually be better off not making any subs there rather than that specific sub. Mental.
Well, I agree. So on that sub, Luke, because from my point of view, I saw Fatawu coming on. I thought, right, good stuff. Finally, too late, but you know, it's better than nothing. And then I see the number 10 go up in red, and I lost my fucking head. What did you think?
I thought it was ridiculous as well. There's been some very, very questionable subs. Let's start with that one. So why persist with playing him on the left? Like, it just ruins absolutely all avenue of attack with him on his left foot. It holds up play. It really, really just does not use him to his strengths. Why not to start him from the get-go? I completely agree with everything that Neil said. I think there's a place and time for him in the squad as a finisher. I just don't see him as a starter. Mavididi, other than Winks, played more minutes, I believe, than any other Leicester City player. So we know he's good for 90, and he's been benched for a few games as well. He's rearing to go, and you can see the results on the pitch when he plays now that he's finally been starting. Taking him off, yes, fully killed the momentum. Stupid. But I would love there to be a reaction of me when I forgot who it was we took off the other day and put Hamza Chowdhury on. That was disgusting. Another stupid sub, Ndidi for Hamza Chowdhury, who in my opinion is a championship squad player at best. I know I hate to bash the bloke because he's an academy player and he has his moments, but I just could not comprehend why we did that. So that's another time where Cooper subs have cost us. So Cooper out again.
Well, that's interesting that you said that because Anil, I know some people would argue. I think someone said Christensen was their man of the match yesterday, but with Ndidi coming off at Palace, our best player, and then Mavididi coming off, in my opinion, our best player yesterday. What is that? What is that about? Like, I don't understand it because. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. You know, Cooper's explanation was he ran his race. Ayew looked more knackered than Mavididi.
Yeah,
Mavididi was about 5 years younger. Well, I don't understand what he was playing at.
Olox, I don't understand it either. I mean, I will try and be objective where possible, but there are things that are just plain stupid. This is interesting because Wolfie's put in here, like, why are you guys surprised? Just so you know, we're actually not surprised, to be honest with you. Like, no one wanted Steve Cooper as a manager. I remember there was a point. I agree with Luke. Cooper is running his race. No, but just to give some context, right? So I remember a few of us were doing a show and we were saying, okay, who do you want as a manager? And this is when everyone thought Potter was all but confirmed. Do you remember there was some news that was leaked by Percy? And we were talking about it, and people were talking about Potter, Corberan, and Moyes even, and like Cooper's name briefly came up, and I'm pretty sure I was just like, yeah, but don't worry, it's not going to be Steve Cooper, is it? Like, yeah, I could understand it because he's not worth it, but I mean, that'd be like the emergency, everything's gone to shit option, which is kind of what's happened. So he's come in, and then to be fair, like, you know, no one wants to write someone off without giving them a chance, right? You have to give them a chance, you have to be fair. But even in pre-season, you know, we said we were worried. Some of the things that we're seeing, we already saw in pre-season, players getting in each other's way, chaos, the lack of use of Ricardo. He wasn't being featured much in pre-season. And yeah, now you're saying as well, like baffling subs and not making enough subs. That's another poor thing. I mean, look, you have to say that Enzo, I think he didn't use enough subs and he also would wait too long as well. So he also made mistakes. But at the same time, he was winning games most of the time. And he did, I think, over time, you know, move away from favourites and he'd be like, oh, okay, actually, Vestergaard's working well. I'll keep him in the team. Oh, actually, even though he's old, Vardy's better as a striker. I'll put him in the team. Actually, Ndidi is better than Dennis Pratt as a box crusher. I'll keep him there, etc., etc. So I don't know. Sometimes I think if you make subs, you know, do you actually want to get sacked? But you know, maybe he's just clueless. That's all I can really say. It's disappointing because I was hoping he would at least adapt. I'll say one thing, like Bobby the Cordova-Reid did start, didn't he? Then he was a sub and now he's not playing at all. So at least he's realised that he's crap. But,
yeah,
you know, so that's something. But I like you said that I think the Ricardo one is even more baffling. Like, it's fine for you to prefer another player like JJ, but you should at least be giving Ricardo, let's say, 10 minutes every game to show him that, like, you know, I'm still thinking about you. Keep showing me what you've got in training. To just completely freeze out a player of that quality when literally every other manager that we've had has realized how good he is. Like, I'm sorry, you're either the next Pep or you're a fraud. And which one? I'll ask you guys. Is Cooper more likely to be the next Pep or is he likely to be the next fraud? You tell me.
Oh, I wonder. That's a tough one, isn't it, Luke? I'm not sure on that one, mate. I'm not sure on that question. Yeah, I mean, it's you know, I'm not saying this is the case, but it's almost as if, and this is the only explanation I could think of. It's almost as if
put that last comment on that Wolfie's saying, because that is terrifying.
He has no clue on how to make subs. He never made a sub in the Premier League that changed the court. Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. All I'd say to that is that I think the Buonanotte sub did change the game yesterday, but he then goes and shits on it, you know, 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later. No, and it's like, and Luke, it's almost as if he like just didn't want Mavididi to be the player to get the winner. That's how it felt. It was like he doesn't want Mavididi because then it shows he was wrong in the first 3 games to not play him. That's how it feels to me because it's like there's no other logical explanation. His explanation is he was tired. He's run his race. And then he doubles down. That's 2 weeks in a row he's doubled down. He doubled down on the Palace game as well. But he's doubled down and said, you know, I would have made the same decision again. But how can you say that when we didn't score? Like, we didn't, you know, if we won 2-1, fair enough saying that, but we didn't. So how can you say you'd make it again? Surely you'd make a different one to try and win the game next time. It's just nuts. It's nuts. Luke, about obviously on the topic of the same substitution for Ayew again on the left, where we know that he's better on the right. What's going on with that?
So again, that's stupid. So because he's on the wrong side of his foot, it's a lot harder for him to be putting a ball into the box and offering a threat. Now, let me ask you both. I'll ask you this, Locke. This is a good. I think this is where Victor Christian's been found out a lot more. So since Mavadidi's been re-included into the team, how many decent crosses and threatening chances have you seen come into the box from Mavadidi, putting his man on toes? You know, doing his step overs, doing what he does, dribbling and taking up, putting a ball in the box. And then think to yourself, how many have you seen from that left-hand side from Victor Christensen? And how many times, I wish I had this ready, I've got 2 screenshots on my laptop of Mavadidi and Christensen getting in each other's ways and literally physically touching each other and being, oh shit, that's not a Mavadidi problem, that's a Christensen problem. I know Christensen's decent for making those overlap runs, but we can get caught out transitions so painfully sometimes when that happens, and he's not as smart tracking his man back as someone like Ricardo Pereira. So, yeah, I don't understand why he took Mavadidi off. Or at the very minimum, if you're going to put Fatawu on, say to him, listen, mate, go let Jordan Ayew know you're going on the left side, you're going to go on the right. Why put him on the left? I would love to sit and interrogate this ugly orc on some of his decisions.
Mate, I agree with you because I mean, LCFC fan mentions the Lens game. He did, and he also did it in the I think it was the Shrewsbury game as well. Was it the first game? Was that the first game of pre-season? I think he did it, or the second. I can't remember which one it was. Paul reckons I'm going to have to eat my negativity soon. All I'll say to that, Paul, is, you know, maybe Cooper needs to get a win first before I start eating. I mean, I said yesterday, look, if we win the game, I don't care. I don't give a damn how we play as long as we start winning games, right? I don't care if you're playing Enzo ball. I don't care if you're playing Steve Cooper ball, whatever that is. I don't care if you start playing, you know, long ball, 2 up top, 4-4-2 Brexit ball. I don't care as long as we win games, but we're not doing that at the moment. And people at least had an argument, Anil, by the way. People still, at least people had an argument when they said stuff like, well, it's Spurs. Well, it's Fulham, good team. Well, it's Palace, good team. Everton are the worst team in the division, in my opinion, and we couldn't beat them. I know there's something you want to show me, Anil, so let's bring it up. Do you want me to bring it up now,
Yeah? Just quickly, because to be fair, everyone's going to say that like we're hating Steve Cooper. So during that Crystal Palace match, when we were winning 2-1, this is literally the thumbnail that I had prepared for my instant match reaction. And I was preparing for it, and I was going to be like, me and Luke are going to be going Steve Cooper masterclass. We were all hating on him, but he's gone away to Palace. And what did he do? He put some freaking Connor Cody, and it all goes to shit. So just to show that, like, we don't want to hate the manager, right? We want the manager to do growth. Exactly. We saw the pick. We want him to be good. I would like nothing more for us to be like, do you know what? You know, this happened with Ranieri. When Ranieri got appointed, everyone was like, this is crazy to get rid of Nigel Pearson, who's been like elite, taken us from League One up to the Premier League, got us 102 points, kept us up in a miracle season, and now you want to bin him for someone who's lost to Greece. But then after about 5-6 games, you're thinking, do you know what? Is Ranieri secretly goated? Because we're playing pretty well. I remember even getting battered by Arsenal 5-2, and you're still like, we got battered, but you know what? It was really enjoyable. We played well. We could have won it on another day. So it was crazy. So we don't want to hate Steve Cooper, but he unfortunately is giving us reasons to hate him. And as I say, I think it's like when you make these kind of crazy decisions, they either come off or they don't. Like it was a crazy decision last year to play Ricardo as an inverted fullback and a CDM instead of a raiding fullback. It worked. It was a crazy decision to try and play Wilfred Ndidi as an attacking midfielder, but it worked, right? It was a crazy decision to put Yannick Vestergaard in the middle of a back three, but it worked, right? If it pays off, it will, and you know, when it started going wrong, people were right to criticize. But yeah, I just he's sacking himself. That's the way that it's going right now. And that's all I can see. And right now, I think he's actually lucky that like you weren't at the game, but I mean, Kate was still saying that generally speaking, like 70% of the crowd still clapped the fans and the manager, which is maybe a bit different to us in the online world. They do tend to be more conservative when they're at the games and stuff like that. But I don't think that'll last forever.
Yeah, I think the same 70% probably clapped Yuri Tillemans, Harvey Barnes, James Maddison. They'll be clapping Brendan Rodgers if we ever played Celtic in a friendly. They'll be clapping Enzo Maresca, guarantee that as well. They'll be clapping all of them, mates. That's why. Normally the Facebook lot, but yeah, I understand it's just some level-headed people, which is also fair enough. The next international break, LCFC fan reckons he'll give him till October. Is it super negative to say Puel's better? Mate, I don't have any doubt. Claude Puel is a better manager than Steve Cooper. No doubt. Luke?
I'll say this. I think Claude Puel built a lot of the team and success that Rodgers took over from when he came in. I'll give his roses for that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
What is your cutoff locks? I know you're probably going to say now for Cooper, but I've put this. You don't have to pull it up, but I've given you the matches here that are coming up. Where do you draw the line with Cooper before we need to make a decision? Because it's a shame we couldn't get Corbrand, and I don't know if it's because of money or he didn't want to come due to his prospects at West Brom and a points deduction hanging over our head. Would you take Cooper now if we can get him? Do you think we should be having a conversation with him before this next international break? Like, where do you draw the line?
I think I said last week, I'm here now saying sack Cooper, and the title of the video is sack Cooper, and I think the thumbnail is sack him. But I said all along, all week, I will give him Everton and Southampton. And if we can't beat Southampton, we are destined for relegation. If we cannot beat Everton and Southampton, I genuinely believe I think it's a sackable offence. I genuinely think not winning a game, because we're not going to beat Arsenal. So that'll be, 5, 6. That would be 7 games without a win, right? That's Rodgers' territory. The year we got relegated, that is Rodgers. So for me, that's a sackable offence. What about you, Anil?
Yeah, I mean, I've said this a few times that it's not even about like sacking him or keeping him. There's opportunity cost, right? So the thing is you've got this expensive squad of players that you've assembled, right? What if they would perform better under someone else? And also, if you don't go and get that someone else, what if one of your rivals goes and gets that someone else instead, right? So that season we got relegated. Aston Villa were rock bottom at one point. They sacked Steven Gerrard. They're bringing Unai Emery, which was a crazy appointment given the team were bottom. And then what happens? They're in the Champions League now. They're 4th in the table. That's what a top manager will give you. I don't think someone like that's going to come to Leicester. But point is that Wolves are rock bottom right now. They're one of the few teams having an even worse time than we are. They'll probably sack their manager and then they bring someone in. Well, whoever they bring in, that person is now off the market and you can't go and get them. Everton, there's a lot of rumours that if they had lost yesterday, it would have been Dyche out and Moyes in. To be honest with you, I wouldn't want to see David Moyes at Leicester either. But my point is that, if you persevere with someone and then you end up going down, it's a bad, that's the opportunity cost that you're making. Whereas the sooner you get someone in, the more likely they are going to be able to turn it around. Or it might be even worse. You never know, but it gives you a chance. So that's the thing. And look, I think if we had the PSR, actually, let me ask you guys a different question. I haven't said so many people speak about yet. If we knew that we were still going to get a points deduction, but we'd have still played how we're playing, would you keep Cooper? Or would you still want to make a change? Because I think, to be honest, that a lot of people, fair enough, their expectations for the season have changed dramatically. Because if you were to ask me right now who I think our player of the season is, it is undoubtedly Nick DeMarco.
Well, Wolfie joked, Luke. Wolfie, the Forest fan, joked. He did a video for me a couple of weeks ago and said that Nick DeMarco has more points, basically, than Steve Cooper. He saved us more points than Steve Cooper has. I mean, it's nuts, but... Yeah, I'll let you, Luke, answer Anil's question about that. About the manager.
So the question is, if we were going to get the PSR deduction, would you be more willing to give Cooper time? Have your expectations changed, or would you still be firmly Cooper out?
No, I think I would. I'm even more firmly Cooper out now. And I disagree with that. Hang on to him, because everyone's like, oh, he's going to be the one that's going to get us back up if we go down. But we go back to evolution and like plateauing under, like, let's say, I said this before, I'll say it again. If we survive this season by the skin of our teeth and we stay up, do you think that we improve even with a bunch of signings next season? No, I think it's going to be the same thing. What is the system? We don't know. So there's no going forward. Like, I look at our squad now, and I got to stop bringing up Enzo. I sound like a guy that can't get over my ex-girlfriend with Enzo, but I would love to have seen Bilal and Buonanotte as our high eights. in the Enzo system, if we was talking about a back three, I think that would have been really, really interesting. And I think he could have got a lot out of the squad. And it's a real shame, particularly if we're skipping Winks as your double pivot. We would have absolutely bossed the ball. So I think we would have done really well. I think with Enzo, even with a point deduction of 10 points, it would have stayed up. I will fall on my sword for that.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I think that's something we discussed actually, Neil, a couple of weeks ago on the channel about imagine that system, the Enzo system with the two high eights, Facundo and Bilal, Ricardo obviously playing as the inverted, Justin then maybe being the left back like he was in the Championship last season. Maybe we would have kept Callum Doyle. I wasn't his biggest fan, but did you see his goal yesterday for Norwich?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, we've got a few minutes left, so I want to just move. We'll have one more Cooper bashing session at the end, but before that, Bilal El Khanous, not his day. His first start for the club, I think he did struggle. I made a comment on the stream which was a bit like tongue in cheek about the weather and about how much of a hard game it would have been to come into on your first game where there might be some nerves, but he didn't have a good game, did he, Anil?
No, he didn't. He was poor, and a sub should have been made sooner. But I don't. This is actually, despite the fact that we've bashed Cooper, I actually don't blame him for trying to start the player, because I think if you've been signed with a view to the future. Yes, Buonanotte is the better player in form right now and has Premier League experience, but he's not our player. He won't be our player next season. So we've invested a lot of money in this player. We do need to get him up and running. This was the worst team in the league at the start of the day. He's had a lot of training sessions now. You've got to give him a chance. He didn't perform and he was subbed. I think he wasn't subbed fast enough, but at least he was given the chance. And at least it was an attempt to try and be more creative. It just backfired. So yeah, as I've said, even though Ayew had a better game, I actually think starting Ayew was the bigger mistake than starting Bilal. But yeah, I feel a bit sorry for him. But I will say that for me, he 100% has to start in the cup game. So he just gets minutes, against easy opposition to get up to speed. And there's even an argument to say he maybe should start against Arsenal, given that if we think he's going to lose, then maybe it's a free hit. But Wolfie did put there saying that Cooper enjoys playing against the Big Six cartel because his really defensive Dow football actually makes it quite difficult for them. And he has got points against those top six teams in the past just because he plays such a sort of shit brand of football against them. So you never know. We might nick a point of Arsenal and just one of those where the XG is like 5 to Arsenal, but they can't hit the broadside of a barn and, we just get something. So yeah, there you go. That is possible. But yeah, not his day, Bilal. Not going to write him off. I think a question is what if he's one of those players that ends up not being able to settle for a very long time? In the back of your mind, you've got to be a bit scared that what if it's another Daka or Sumare? But it's a long way from that. And I think he will do well. I think he just needs time and maybe another manager could get better out of him. We'll leave that for later.
That is true. Yeah. I mean, Luke, Anil makes a good point there. Imagine like a Bilal and Enzo. I think he'd get a lot more out of a player like that.
Yeah, definitely, because he would know exactly where to position him. So that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I think someone used it against me. Someone was like, see, you asked for an attacking midfielder and now you got him and he was crap. I'm like, mate, behave. You know what I mean? It's what a joke of a comment that is. But to be fair, I wanted Buonanotte to start over Bilal anyway. Buonanotte was my choice because I think he's been maybe on par with Ndidi as our best player this season.
Yeah. Same for me. He was my pick as well, just because I was thinking, look, don't rush someone into the team, ease them in a little bit. You're better off starting Buonanotte for 60 and having Bilal come on for the last 30. That would have made more sense, in my opinion. So it's funny with Cooper, isn't he? How, again, with these weird subs or decisions, he'll be like, some players, he does it the right way, like introduces them slowly, and others he just thrusts them in and it just completely backfires. Just so weird.
Yeah, 100%. Right, last question to both of you. I'll start with you, Luke, mate. I mean, we've already kind of mentioned it, but how many points do you want to see from the next three, which is Arsenal, Southampton, Bournemouth? How many points?
6. I want to see 3 against Bournemouth and I want to see 3 against Southampton. If we get those, I will calm down a little bit. Like I said, I don't want Cooper to do bad. I do want us to win. I get up a lot of these games at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't get up at that time wanting because I don't like the club. I love this club to bits and I want them to do well. I want to stay in the Premier League. It means the world to me, but I will give the man his roses if he gets them. But for now, we're 5 games in and he hasn't. So just saying.
Yeah. Anil, how many points from Arsenal, Southampton, Bournemouth?
I can't see us getting more than 4. I'm thinking in my head, would I take 4? If we beat Southampton and drew to Bournemouth, maybe I would take that. I think anything less than that, though, and I mean, if Southampton beat us, I think it's sacking, to be honest, because that'll put us in dire straits there. Let's see. Just quickly, I think it's worth bringing up. Someone brought up about the set pieces, coach. I think we should quickly talk about that because we've scored off them and we haven't conceded one yet off a set piece. And despite the fact that we're 5th bottom, the fact that we haven't conceded off a set piece, this guy is doing good. And it wasn't just the goal that we scored, but there were some really clever set pieces yesterday that we were trying.
Yeah, and he wasn't even a big money one. Was it Rodgers who brought in a big money one?
Yeah.
And he was.
It was the Norwegian guy. No, he did improve us as well. But I think this one's better because because we did initially stop conceding so much from the set pieces. But what I like about this guy, like I think Norwich scored 13 goals from set pieces last season. So he was brought in for that reason. Like there was this really good one when they played it to Mavadidi, and then Mavadidi did this like little quick in and out. And then basically he gets across and Okoli almost headed it in. And it was almost harder to miss than to score. But unfortunately, the pineapple missed. But it was really clever the way the set pieces. There's a lot of variety going there. And I think that's really encouraging to see.
Yeah, 100%. Right. We are coming towards the end of the stream. Before we do wrap up, please, thank you to everyone for getting their comments in on the video. There's 80 people in now, so if you can hit the like button, hit subscribe, that would be much appreciated. Thanks to the members in the chat as well. I've seen Dawn, I've seen a couple members, Anil as well. So thanks to you guys for getting your comments in and being members. Luke, what's coming up? I mean, I know you've just done a video, so guys, go check out Anil and Luke's video. So for FOXES TV and LCFC Down Under, because they've both done videos in reaction to the game. But Luke, what's coming up over the next few days over on LCFC Down Under, mate?
Thanks, mate. I may do a preview. I don't really dive too much into Walsall, but I may do a preview just for the curiosity of the rotations and seeing some young players in the development. And then I will probably be watching the game behind the couch against Arsenal and maybe do a post-match reaction.
Lovely stuff, mate. Yeah. Hopefully, we'll see Luke hopefully on the channel then on next weekend as well with the old Arsenal thing. Hopefully we don't get beat 6-0 or something. Anil, for FOXES TV, mate, what's coming up?
Well, I just stayed up till 3 a.m. doing my analysis video, so please go and check that one out. I put a ton of effort into that one. So for me, I'll be asleep probably till about Thursday after that. Need to recover. Be looking forward to the Arsenal game. I don't expect necessarily the best result, but look, I will say we've been competitive in every game so far. And Arsenal, I don't know if you've seen them recently, but they've got a few injuries. They're being a little bit more like a Mourinho team where they're grinding out the victory rather than battering teams. So if they win, it could be a comprehensive one, but I would be surprised if we get absolutely toasted. Famous last words, we will see.
Lovely stuff. Thank you, everyone who's watched today, who's tuned in, and who has commented, and also who's hit the like button. We will be back on Blue Tick and Glasses probably tomorrow for some kind of stream. I'll let you know about that. But Wednesday, of course, is episode 4 of the FOXES Den. So join us at 7 p.m. for that one. Thanks to Luke. Thanks to Neil. Much appreciated. My last words are Cooper out. We all saying that. Cooper out. Luke?
Can we end with a Luke rant, please?
Steve Cooper can eat an apple for a tennis racket.
Luke, tell me, give me one compliment about Steve Cooper. We'll end on one compliment.
If he's decent at developing players, the one compliment.
Nah, I'm not having it. Don't want to hear the compliment.
I fell for that one.
See you in a bit, lads. Thank you very much. Bye bye.